How to overcome betrayal. If this video is hitting you at the perfect timing, it may be because even on a global level, there are so many changes taking place that it stirs people up. There's a lot of conflict and surprises and actions that appear to be betrayals. And some of them are betrayals. So if you've recently gone through something in your life that feels like a betrayal, whether you feel betrayed by a person, a group of people, or a circumstance, or perhaps maybe somebody feels betrayed by you and there's been a change, a separation, maybe it's a breakup, maybe it is a job change, maybe it is a change of address, but something has happened fast, unexpectedly. It's a surprise. And when that happens, what is the best way and how do we get through it? The answer to that might be a little bit different now than it was 5 years ago, because there are so many energies coming onto the planet. Things are moving at such a fast pace that if we want to take hold of the opportunity for change, we have to grab onto that fast pace. We have to live at the higher frequency and the higher vibration. And that's where we're going to become our next version of ourselves, the new human. And those of you that listen to these types of videos are probably at least spiritually curious, if not very spiritual. And so we're moving into a time of higher consciousness, a higher vibrational way of living, and a more heart-centered and light way of living, but it takes time to get there. And in order to get there, of course, in our world of opposites, there's darkness and there's light. And right now we are passing through a lot of shadow and darkness collectively. And we can see that on the planet with all of the multiple crises that have been happening, but especially since 2020 up to the very present moment of war on the planet. And so people are dealing with a lot, but personally, there are a lot of people also dealing with feeling betrayed. And how do we move through that quickly? Because our habit has always been to grieve, to take time to grieve. There's different stages of grief that we have learned exist, and maybe we get online and we read about that. We try to go through those stages, or we journal. And these new times that we live in, it can be different. Getting over loss can be different. It could be faster, and it can also be without such heaviness and resentment and the grudges. And that's where betrayals come into it. Because when somebody passes over, there may not be a betrayal there, but perhaps the memory of them and processing through the grief might bring up some things where there were betrayals that you are just feeling now and you want to handle it. But mostly the kind of betrayal that I'm speaking to during this audio blog is the kind of betrayal where you feel like somebody really stabbed you in the back and you are shocked by it and you don't know how to sort of move past it, and you don't want to be stuck in the past. And you know that you're going into your new version of yourself and your next timeline. And maybe you've been doing so good about your personal growth and you've been dedicated and everything, may have been going smooth, or maybe it's constantly been bumpy. But at this point, life is making you look at some darkness there. And so to move through it in these new times where we do have an opportunity to grab onto higher vibration, I'm not going to say that there is an easy solution, because that would be depressing. If you're sitting in the muck and you just want to get out of it and you don't know how, and somebody's saying, well, the energies are moving so fast, you should just be able to sort of like grab on to that higher frequency and go. It's not exactly that. There is a part of this process, even though it can happen quicker, where you are going to be faced with the darkness. So here's the point about just looking at it and seeing what you see as far as, okay, this person, this event, this group of people seems to not have been what you thought they were. And you look at that situation and say, okay, I get that this is very disappointing, but how can I not sink into a state of despair and let that state of despair stop me in my tracks? I don't want to live in this darkness forever. I don't want to keep going back to the same regrets or replaying the same scenarios or conversations in my mind about how I didn't catch on. I thought this person or these people were different than they were. So there's that process of like seeing it and seeing the shadow side or the ugliness in it, then kicking ourselves for why didn't we see this sooner or protect ourselves. And we can still do those processes, but a quicker way now with the new energies that are on the planet is, yes, we do want to acknowledge what we see without the veil of ignorance, without the rose-colored glasses. We want to see what really happened. Maybe this best friend stabbed you in the back and twisted the knife around and you just cannot figure out why. The first thing to do is just see what happened and understand that it's going to look differently from different angles. The way that you see it is from all of the things that you have gone through in your life. Your experiences have created perspectives, and you see it through those perspectives. It is okay to be angry and feel hurt, but also knowing that you're seeing it from one angle. And so there's a sort of acceptance in that. This is okay. I'm open to other ways of seeing it. I don't have to go there, but I'm open to other ways of seeing it, because an outsider is going to see it differently than the person who committed the betrayal is going to see it. So everybody's going to see it from their own angle. It may look different from different angles. It doesn't mean you're wrong to feel betrayed. Feel how you feel and acknowledge it. If you want to move on and get into a new timeline, one of the things to do is envision where life is going ideally. Envision where you want to end up now that you know that this person or situation is gone from your life. You're making a decision not to go back to the darkness. You have to find a way to move forward with a sense of a lighter vibration, or at least that's the goal here. So one thing that you can also do is rewrite the situation with your mind, because a lot of what you're focusing on is your thinking and your emotional reaction to your thinking. So find a way to look at the situation differently. Pick another possibility or another scenario that says, okay, it looked like this person came at me and stabbed me in the back and twisted the knife. But if I really try to think of a different perspective on this, I can see that the person was acting from a place where they thought that I was going to make a move that threatened them, and they decided to act first. And so their action is a reaction to something that wasn't true, but I can see how they would react to that if they thought it was true. So there's one example. So you can use examples of something that maybe happened to you in your past. Maybe you got into an argument with your best friend, and the next thing you know, the best friend goes and tells a mutual friend about it and tries to get sympathy, and you're just livid because you feel like, wow, they didn't need to involve this other person. They went and talked about me. That's so horrible, on top of the fact that it was an argument that didn't need to happen and we could have just resolved it. Now they went and took it a step further, and now our friendship is totally ruined and I don't want to be their friend anymore. And so you feel betrayed, and you know that life has to go on. You just keep thinking about that friend. And so at a point at which you've kind of processed through, okay, I see what they did. That really sucks. I hate that they did that, but I can't control their behaviors. I'm very angry. I'm kind of annoyed at the friend that they went to because that friend didn't stick up for me. And I'm going to look at all of that. I feel grief. I feel sadness. These were really good friends of mine. I feel alone. And okay, I acknowledge all of that and I see it. And I also need to move on. So what does my ideal life look like? Yes, I had other goals in mind that didn't have anything to do with these friendships. I have a job that doesn't have anything to do with these friendships. And I also have a lot of other friends, and I can see where my goals for a year and 5 years from now don't have anything to do with these particular friends. So I will keep moving toward what I feel is going to fulfill me. But the way that I get over looking at the situation is to think of the friend who I got in the argument with. This friend probably thought that I was going to maybe go out and say things about them. Maybe they felt that a sense of guilt, maybe they felt that they were wrong in something and they wanted to go and just like make themselves feel better and get some support. And maybe this friend doesn't have a lot of other support. And so it wouldn't be surprising that they went to the mutual friend. And in that way, maybe I can see that, yeah, I feel like maybe if I was in that friend's position, maybe I would have acted that same way, or I could at least see why they did that, and that their feelings are also hurt, and they probably also feel a sense of they're right and I'm wrong, and I can relate to that. And then I can also say, okay, I get it and I'm not happy about it, and there may be too much damage done to go back to the friendship. There may not, but at this point, I'm not going to let the situation stop me in my tracks. I'm going to move forward. So that's just one small example of a way that you can just kind of rewrite the story in your brain instead of being angry and holding on to that. Because what we tend to do when we feel betrayed is we are thinking that that other person is a big fat jerk, and there's way worse names that we call them in our heads, and we are actually hating on them in a sense. And even people that are light workers and very loving can get that feeling in their minds and in their emotional body of just outrage toward another person. Anger does cause a lot of bad decision making and a lot of negative karma. So being angry at somebody else is bad for us, and it is bad for the collective. So there is no benefit to hanging on to anger. And that's the main point, is you're allowed to be angry, but moving forward and coming out of it is the best way, instead of staying there and repeatedly putting negative energy into the collective. Because when you call someone else a name or you insult somebody in that conversation you're having with them in your mind, and we all do that, then guess what's happening? You're insulting yourself because you're a part of the collective. You're insulting the collective. You're telling other beings and other beautiful souls that their human self is worthless, and you just want to see them rot in hell. And that is lower vibrational energy that will get you stuck. So the other way of overcoming betrayal is understanding that the whole energy that you get caught up in when you spin out in your head, these types of things will drag you down. They are lower vibrational energies. They will prevent you from getting into the higher frequency that you are eventually going to go to step into your new timeline. And right now we're all in transition. So just be patient with yourself. If you're feeling like, gosh, I've been through this before, and what was I doing all that therapy for, and just years and years of working on myself, and now I feel like I have gone backward because I'm just drowning in this anger and grief. Just know, if you feel like you've gone backward, that is a step forward. Okay, that's where you are actually going to go even more forward, because that's how it works. You have to kind of feel a little bit desperate for the next push. Otherwise, we plateau. There's nothing that challenges us, and then we stay. These are challenging times. So if you're not being personally challenged, you might be personally challenged very soon, because it's a part of our growth is to take the challenges, the chaos, the darkness, and to understand that is a part of the times we're in, and understand that we need to consciously see that that is lower vibrational energy, and then we need to move forward to reach for the higher vibrational frequency. So again, with betrayal, to do that a little more quickly is to try to relate to the party that has betrayed you, see it from their angle, understand that they're human, they're not perfect, they were never going to be perfect. And when they're presented with a challenging situation where they feel threatened and maybe they're angry, they will make bad decisions out of anger, just like you have and just like we all have. We have all made mistakes, and that's a part of this too, is the growth in us comes from understanding that if we haven't made mistakes, we haven't lived. Everybody makes mistakes, and the value in that is learning from them. But in order to learn from them, you have to look at them. And sometimes when we do that, we look at these betrayals and we go, okay, I played a part in that. I can see where my energy, the way I came in, may have been misinterpreted, and I played a part in this because I wasn't self-aware about my own energy, and this is how the person reacted. It looks and feels like a betrayal, but they are human, and I can relate to why the situation happened. Maybe I will never trust them again. Doesn't matter. The point is not to carry the anger and not to sit in the lower frequency and stew around, because then that is just going to inhibit us from our next phase of our life. So hopefully this short audio blog was helpful for you, even if in some small way, to overcome the challenging times that we're all in, and maybe the challenging times that you may be in personally. I know a lot of people that I've talked to are going through these really fast changes and shocking events, and there is a lot of grief and loss on the planet right now. So just know, if you're feeling a little heavy, you're not alone. And also know that there are so many light workers on the planet right now, that things are getting better, and it is going to take some time, but that it will get better. That's all for today. Be well.